morning, Kevin. How
Good
the heck are
morning,
you doing,
Chris.
buddy?
I'm
Ah,
doing great this week. So it's been a wonderful week. How about yourself?
rock and roll. Best day, best week ever. So excited, so
Oh,
happy.
really?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so Phineas, tell me why is it?
Why is it? So, I mean, the sun's out, the grass is growing. I mean, we're just so much wonderful stuff going on in this world. It's hard to not be excited to greet the day. Yeah.
Yeah, this springtime, like down here, this is the best, right? Just in between, we're getting nicer. We're getting a little bit got a lot more sun, really, but then
Mm.
just before all the heat comes in, the gates of hell opening up, as we say in Dallas. So
Yeah.
gets to
Well,
be
good
too much.
morning, Belinda. It's good to see you
Oh,
too.
wow. I have
Thank
had the
you.
pleasure of talking to Belinda almost every night this week.
Get out. Wow.
Yeah, she was for our Saturday morning learning. She was leading up a group to help study to take the 600 test. And so going through answering questions and having good conversation on why. And our friend Fernando, I think, is scheduled to take it today. So if he's
Ooh.
hears this, good luck to him. If maybe he'll hear it afterwards and he'll let us know how he's doing. But
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. And if you've taken this DP 600, let us know your thoughts. How hard was it? Kevin, have you taken it or no?
no, I haven't. I
Yeah.
haven't. I didn't get a chance to take it ahead of time. I didn't do the challenge, and so I've been trying to catch up on a lot of different things, and,
Oh,
soon.
Chewy. Chewy's here. Ah, good to see you. And it's good to see Jason. And good morning to Jason and Aaron. Always good morning to see you as well. Um, let us know where you're from. If just say hi, in the chat. Love to hear how things are going, and want to just hear from people, right? So let us know. This is a conversation, so love for you to be part of that conversation. But
Yep. So
today,
back on the DP 600, the
mhm,
Linda saying she thought it was pretty hard. She thought it was dang hard is what she put in there.
wow,
But, the challenge, and I've seen it at a couple different places, I think people just finally started getting their, vouchers to be able to schedule the test this week or whatever. So,
okay,
because I saw something over on Reddit that people were asking when it's going to be there, and a couple people that were on the study group were saying that they just finally got them. So, if did the challenge and you're looking for your voucher, then you should have it by now. Make sure you check your spam or anything, just in case. So get that
oh,
going.
that's yeah, yeah.
Paris. Wow, we got somebody
We
from
are
Paris.
international. That's
That is
exciting.
wonderful.
Well, Cody just got his voucher this morning, so they must be just going out. So keep your eyes out. Check those spam folders. I know almost everything that I that I'm looking for is captured in my spam. So um, there's a Dimitri in Paris is an actual band. So maybe that's what. Maybe he's a member of the band. You don't. I mean,
You never know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like even rock stars have to get a day job at some point in time. So, or many of them do, right?
Okay. Oh,
Oh,
too
all right.
much. Well,
Okay. So
I know you got a big topic today, but I
yes.
did want to mention the one other thing that I mentioned to you ahead of time. The Fabric April 2024 update is out there. If you haven't seen it yet, go look at it. It is jam packed, and our friend, I think Alex or somebody else put this on Twitter a while ago, and I tested it out. If you go to print out that update, or say even print it to a PDF, it comes out to over 60 pages to print. So, I
Holy
mean, they're
cow.
just coming up with massive updates. There's a lot of interesting stuff on there. Oh yeah, thanks for pulling that up.
Well, let's just
But
go
just the
through these one
contents
by
alone.
one really quick.
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't have enough to talk about, right? So
Right. Holy cow. Look at that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Mm. Oh, I
All the things that I was looking at, it was talking about source control for data warehouses. I didn't
mhm.
get on my tenants that it goes directly into Git yet, but
Okay.
I did notice a new button to say download your data warehouse as a database project. And if you remember a few live streams ago, we covered using database projects in Visual Studio Code to maintain the database, the data warehouse, the objects in there. So they're making that a little bit easier. And
Yeah.
I hope it's the way that I actually kind of read this. Is sooner or later they're actually just going to put it right into Git, and you could do
Mm.
commits for when you're making tables and objects and everything in there. So that was one I was kind of excited about, but maybe still rolling out. You know how things roll through the regions.
Right, right, right.
Go out and
Oh,
look at that.
yeah. Link is in the chat, so you can go ahead and take a look at that afterwards or while we're talking. Either way, right?
Yeah, if you're one of those
That's
people, you
fine.
gotta do 3 things at one time, and just make sure that we're still the first priority,
Yeah,
the
or at least
highest in the
you
queue.
keep the live stream up and running. Uh, don't go off, right? And hey, you know what? I forget all about this stuff. What's the YouTubes? Uh, you know, go out there, make sure you've hit like on it, subscribe, all turn on notifications. In fact, I don't know how you necessarily know about this without these things on, but sharing us is great.
Yeah,
And make sure you're connected with Kevin and myself on both LinkedIn and Twitter. So
yes,
we are out
please.
there as well. All right.
Alright. So rules. Do we wanna go through
Yes.
rules
Yep.
before? Because you might need the rules today with your conspiracy theories.
Yes. This is going to be a lively one. So if you have questions about these cockamamie ideas that we're going to be trotting out, please prefix the questions with a Q because I've had a lot of caffeine this morning and we are firing on all cylinders. So, but we want to like help engage. So put Q in front of any questions that you have, and please don't spam or repeat questions. Moderators in the chat, uh, will like block you and stuff like that. So,
Mhm.
all right, okay. Are we
Wow.
ready, Kevin?
I think I'm ready. I paid just enough attention when you were going through it to have a little bit of an idea. But I'm gonna be kinda learning along with everybody here, so hopefully I could channel people's questions, but put them in the chat to help bring us along and, go ahead. What's your conspiracy theory?
All
What
right,
kind of
all right.
Martians are coming?
Let's well, okay, let's get our conspiracy theory hats on. All right, so
Yeah.
we've got our
I
tinfoil hats on, so the government can't watch us as our brain functions are going through and delving deep into what is coming into the future. So, um, let's start with where are we going to drive these conspiracy theories from? All right, so we're talking about the metrics layer that Carly Newsom announced last week on our lunch and learn. So if you haven't seen this before, we're going to bring you up to speed on what this stuff is. Um, uh, I just realized. Hang on a second here.
that that
So
was a that was a fun lunch and learn to watch.
yeah, yeah, we're gonna have Carly on again. She manages some of the most powerful, interesting parts of like Power BI and Fabric that I think is so actionable, but people aren't using or aren't providing great feedback on. So we're not getting updates there like we should. So like we
Yeah.
need more people in this. All right.
Yeah, you need to watch that, and you need to watch it to the end so you can learn what she'll be back on about, so
Yeah, and so I do wanna I do want to let you know we are going crazy conspiracy theory in this in this live stream. So I do not know any of these things. This is not off of any NDA or preview materials for conversations. I don't have privy to that. Carly is a very very secretive individual, so her black box world that she operates in, I've got conspiracy theories around this. Okay, but let's first start with what was announced. And so again, I have no extra access, so I'm just going to hit on
Mhm.
quickly screenshots of what we talked about. Okay, So he goes, she started to talk about like, why are we talking about a metrics layer? The
Mhm.
idea being like, okay, so Fabric has started to pave the way so that we can share report, or Power BI led the way and be able to share reports and semantic models. Okay, that's good. And Fabric starts to bring in the ability to share the underlying data. Okay, also good. But the big challenge that we have in all of those situations is the silos still exist between semantic models, right? Like,
Mhm.
okay, I've got a semantic model, and you've got a semantic model. How we get those to like interact and like how do those actually work together is
You get a
still
model, and you get a model, and you get a model. Sorry, that needed to be said.
yeah, right. That's exactly it, right? So it's still very, very silent, right? And so Carly like showed that we're going to have like this new experience, this new metrics. This is going to be added into the metrics layer that is already out there. So those scorecards and stuff that's out. She's this is going to become visible inside here. So it's more than just scorecards. We're going to be doing more stuff in there, right? Which, as she's highlighting here, allows you to like have that uniform metric that you're sharing out amongst people. The example they gave was like, okay, Kevin and I are both reporting on sales. Kevin says that there was $400 billion in sales. I say there's $1 billion in sales. Who's right? Who's wrong? Why is there a difference? Right? It's hard to see and understand that in an organization. It just creates all sorts of confusion, right?
And then they'll take my number and broadcast it, and then find out your number was correct.
Right.
Like,
And then
wait a
people go
minute,
to
I thought we were doing a
jail
whole
and
lot better. I just bought like, a whole new company.
right. Stocks were purchased, we did all sorts of crazy stuff, right? So um it even allows us to like share visuals, so we can actually choose and you can kind of see in here like that go back. You can kind of see like, okay, we're gonna be able to select as the metric layer, what are we able to share so it could be more than just like, okay, we're sharing a metric, but we're sharing a confined piece of dimensions out there, right? So it's like, okay, it needs to have date, needs to have store type and category, right? Like that's
Mhm.
that's what she's highlighting here, right? Now, um you'll even be able to track it so you can find what are the ones that are most in use. So if you're looking at and you find sales shared, you could see like, okay, hey, here's one by Carly that's got 3,500 people using it, or views of it, and then here's one by Christian Wade that's only got 54. So like, you could kind of tell which one you should use or not,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, yeah. A cool functionality, right? And then that allows people to go in and do things like, hey, I want to create some different visuals on it,
Mhm.
and even embed it inside of a report, right? So you actually can pull that metric in and include it in your report so that you can leverage other people's metrics, right?
So, okay, so if we back up there just a half second,
Hmm.
did that mean when you pull that metric in because you had, like the slide before this, you showed you could modify like the visual type and everything. I guess that's associated with this metric that you put together. So now you could pull this into another report and it'll be that visual that you defined here, I guess, right?
Right.
Okay,
Well,
I'm a little slow sometimes, so yeah, that just pulled it all back together because I kind of missed that the first 5 times. So,
and so think about this. This is showing a very simplistic example, right?
hmm
A measure with 4 fields. This could be 300 measures with 500 fields that you're sharing
hmm
out inside of this metric experience. It's going to be based upon what you, as like a semantic layer or as a domain owner who's part of a data mesh providing services to other people, what you want to be able to provide out, right? So,
Mm.
well, this is a simple view. It could be incredibly complex. So, for example, maybe there's a table of data or a matrix of data that you want people to have. You can publish all the items that you want them to be able to use inside of this metrics layer, and then that matrix could be used n number of times in other
To export
reports.
to Excel.
Well, the export to Excel. Yep. Um, so I guess we're starting to already delve into like our conspiracy theories here. I
Yeah,
see,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, all good, right? So this is just like the conversation that we're talking about here,
It's
right?
cool.
Um, but we now quickly get into like why is this so important and why, like, I mean, we can kind of see like, okay, I think we're starting to see like why we can kind of get that, but I want to call out a specific why, and this is where we start to get really deeper into like the conspiracy theories around how and why this stuff is happening. Okay. um let's talk enterprise analytics and governance. All right. It is very common for companies to think that 90 plus percent of their data is coming from their enterprise solutions, with the reality being the exact opposite, where 80, 95% plus are coming from at least 3 steps away from whatever that enterprise solution. Um, uh, ooh, Cody, spoilers, you're jumping way ahead here.
I wasn't even gonna say it.
um, uh, well, but there's a challenge there, right? Like, okay, so it's coming downstream of this stuff, but how do you, as an organization, understand who's consuming what and how are they doing it, especially with all these like spider webs that are starting to go into play, that people are interacting with? Because
Mhm.
regardless, the challenge that uh, people are facing and struggling with is that these executive staffs are consuming reports and consuming information,
Mhm.
and it's that Spider-Man meme of like, "Hey, your sales," right? Like just pointing back at each other as to what's right, what's wrong, all of that good stuff, right? Like, um, this is still a real problem where executives don't trust the information that's coming from all sorts of different teams and departments. So what do? They pick one that they think is reliable and they go with that one. But they don't know about the insights from others. They distrust them. It causes all sorts of problems, right?
Yeah, I've seen that. I kind of mentioned that or have thought about it myself as I only depend upon my team, right? So if you kind of give Power BI to everybody in all the different lines of businesses, and the executives will only trust the ones that come through their line of business, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then somebody else that's in charge, whether it's a central BI or something like that, and they're not engaged with those lines of business as much, come up with something different that has a different number. That's where all those it's like, well, wait a minute, you're saying this out of central, but here's what my person has said.
Yep.
That's yeah.
Yep. And the challenge comes where even in the best situations, all of these semantic models, even if they're striving to do the right thing, even if, as Donald is mentioning, like, hey, there should be an enterprise warehouse and there's
Mhm.
only one sales and they should all be used in them. And let's say that they're trying for that, they still end up having different refresh cadences, different refresh schedules, and that whole like pointing back and forth can still be an incredible thing. Like, okay, when did you pull the data? Is that live connect? Does that show the latest month? Are you excluding chargebacks? What are you doing to handle these things, right? All of that becomes incredibly difficult in our current environment, even with composite models in these places,
Mhm.
right? Like this becomes really a challenge, right? And so, the ultimate goal that a lot of companies have been getting or striving for. And Microsoft pioneered this with their Starlight architecture, where you have a singular semantic model that's owned by different domains. And this goes right into the whole concept of like a data mesh, right? Where each domain owns their given aspects of the model. They do their refreshes, they maintain the code all in, repositories that they own and they occupy. But they make this accessible and usable for people, right? Um,
Okay, so
Now,
the different colors there are what was on the earlier slide of your different lines of business.
right, right. So
And
this
so
was
yeah,
the different
yeah,
models, right?
right.
And it
Yep.
gets condensed into this, where each team owns their aspects. You have shared or organizational structures. You have universal singular refresh and deployment pipelines that everyone conforms and works to.
Okay. And with traditional development techniques or ones that we've thought of, this is challenging, right?
100%.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do this. You can do it, and in fact, oh man, totally meant to pull this up. In fact, Michael Kovlowski, and you can go on TE3
Mhm.
Master Mini. Oh, that didn't do it.
I thought you kinda had a slide maybe a little bit later, you were talking about it, right?
Yeah, so here's this is the one. Yeah, so here, where'd you go? So this comes from
Mhm.
Michael Kovlowski. He is the guy who built this framework out. It
Yep.
is it works quite well. This is what's in place at Microsoft. They use this to manage their models. So I'm going to share this stuff out. So um, where you can have many teams that are out there running it. But in order to do this, it relies heavily upon perspectives in
Mhm.
order to define the ownership and the distribution of those mini models. And you can actually go out and he makes a ton of this code readily available for people. So, like, if you want to go out and use it, it's on his GitHub page.
Yeah.
Michael Kovlowski has this here. He made a GUI to make this something that's easy for you to use,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Yeah. Like if you said, "Hey, this is a challenge inside my organization. I want to leverage this. I need these capabilities." Totally, you can start to get your teams working together on this. And in fact, I think often this is a key part of a data mesh framework inside of an organization is this type of collaboration and this type of breaking down of the silos, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where, like, yeah, the different BI solutions. And I mean, honestly, the semantic layer can help break that down. So regardless of what front end BI solution you're using, you can use that one common semantic model, right? So, like, you can have a semantic model that services Power BI, Tableau, Click, all of that stuff because XML endpoints uh, are commonly accessible, right? All right. So the difference here, though, is that this in the metrics layer is not perspectives. Now, I initially thought that we would want this to be a perspective because I come from I've used this semantic layer or I've used this model in a number of different times and places, and I found it to be
Mhm.
extremely helpful. Uh, Kevin, have you used cement or the perspectives a lot
Oh,
before?
yeah. Yeah, especially, like, I would say a little bit prior to Power BI, right? Doing starting kinda on-prem, the SSAS tabular models,
Hmm.
right? And then getting it up on Azure Analysis Services. And we had a lot of people wanting to connect via, Excel, right?
Right.
But you have a lot of things inside that model, and people we found were getting very confused. And it was easier to train to say, connect to this perspective, right?
Hmm.
Because in the dialogue for Excel, through that, it automatically presented you with it. That was
Yep.
one thing I was kind of disappointed went away, that when you put the same model out onto Power BI, it just always defaults to the overall model. It was
Hmm.
a lot, it's a lot harder to connect to a perspective, right? So perspectives in the whole Power BI ecosystem really only have, in my mind, one and only one function, and that's personalized visuals.
Yeah.
I don't see that Power BI natively supports it anywhere else. But yeah, I thought it was great when we were hosting the models on AAS and teaching people to do that. And some people confused it with security. Oh, well,
Hmm.
they'll only see these things. Like, no, no, no. They're still allowed to see the other stuff if they connect to the one model perspective, the bigger thing. But yeah, so we had to train around that and everything. I thought it worked out really well. I do wish that the Power BI, like if you had a thin report, would present you that dialogue as well. Here's the perspectives in the model. Let me just do this so that you have a whole lot less on your data pane to see. And then you'd almost have to think of like what you could do is view hidden now, right? Can you have a thing of view other perspectives, right? Because it wouldn't break the report.
Right.
And it would be a good way to help people. Again, these large models that you have that people just get confused when there's too many options.
Yeah.
So,
And Bob is asking if I've used it before, and I actually I have. I've used
hmm
it a number of times, and it is fantastic when it comes to managing your model in one place and then deploying many like smaller models.
hmm
And that can be really, really important, especially if you have very complex things that you're doing in your model. You want to design and build it a singular time and then reuse it for different domains or different use cases, right?
yeah.
Especially like if you're thinking about all the like what size capacity do you want? I mean, do you really want to pay for a P5 or whatever the F equivalent is? I mean, that's $80,000 a month with
Yeah.
the 41% discount. Like it's a lot of money, right? Some of you are like, hey, you know what? We use it. It's worth it to us. Our other investment we were doing at other places, we were spending $250,000 a month, so 80,000's in steel. So
Yeah.
great. But not everyone has that, and not everyone wants. It would love to find a way to go from 80,000 a month down to, let's say, 20. Right?
Yeah.
That this allows you to break up those models and use it. So it's awesome. So
Yeah.
when I
And I do think with that whole mini model approach that is out there, it's probably going should be revisited a little bit now that we have the Tyndall support, right?
oh yeah, yep,
And
yep,
there was an article put out by Rui that talked about um, how you're able to copy the Tyndall files from model to model. So
mm,
I think when that kind of gets revisited and we get more and more automation tools using the Tyndall files. Yeah, my your hat's better than mine. I should have made. Hang on, I'll be right back. We'll do it live, but yeah. So I think that's going to be a whole nother approach to do those mini model type of things. So, but
hundred
anyways, kind
percent.
of back onto your whole the reason you got a tinfoil hat on, not
Yes.
perspectives.
So when I heard that it was not perspectives, I was upset because if you're familiar at all with like the alternative, um, where the heck did my mouse go? There we go. Composite models
hmm
have a whole bunch of performance challenges with them, right? Like, okay, composite models are okay, but I mean, I know a number of people have done deep dive analysis on the composite models and their performance, and I mean, they work good at a smaller scale. They don't work
hmm
good at a larger scale, right? Like that's an issue, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, that's an issue, but that's an issue today. And this is where we start to look to the future, right? Because I think a lot of things going on inside of technology, and especially inside of like Power BI, has uh, like we're all working towards like a convergence point, right? Like, okay, they can't, they can't like wait for for everything to be at a place and then develop on it, right? They start developing, working towards a point that's in the future. So we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out what's that point in the future and why are these steps moving forward as they are currently moving forward today, and not so that's where we get into like the direct link piece, right? So
And this is also more of where it is your conspiracy theory. This is what you said earlier in the at the beginning. No,
yes,
no, you don't have any direct knowledge of this coming or going. This is you tying different things together.
yeah, this is me with my tinfoil hat on, talking about the future and how or why these things are the way these things are.
Yep,
Okay, so on Uh, yeah, yeah,
exactly,
we are
Cody.
starting
Yep.
speculation and conjecture now. Yes, yes, this could very well be fake news type stuff here. But let me frame this up. My big brain, well, like alpha brain's got to be on top of this for like why this is happening. So what you got here is you got direct link, right? So our old world, you had to import everything into memory, and okay, that was great for real performance, and because direct query was slow and it didn't work, and people had really challenges with that, unless you really engineered it, right? Import was good, but like then you had things like composite models where you're trying to like go from one import to another import, and so you had this weird query back and forth where like performance really is questionable at scale, right? Um,
Hmm.
but now that we have direct link coming into play, where queries are not going from in memory to in memory, queries are just going back against delta files, right? And they're starting to get as performant as they are on that import space. Not quite. There's some differences, and there's some different functionalities that come into play here. But when we have when that day comes and then near future, and I don't know if that near future is 3 months from now or 3 years from now, whatever it is, where that performance is the same, that direct lake performance is identical and functionalities identical and those capabilities are identical, the rationale or need for imports is going to radically drop off, if not disappear entirely. Okay, because why wouldn't there be a day where all of the import processing like it
Hmm.
creates a direct lake environment that's now just imported into indirect lake, right? Like why
Okay.
why would we need to persist, like, because when you import data it goes into, what are they, VLDR files or something like that, or what's the
Uh, ADF or something like. I mean,
uh
there's. Well, you're
there's
talking. It goes into the Vertipack engine. If
right, and
they,
Vertipack stores those files, those compressed files, or it's in memory, but they're still in a file structure, right? You can go in and find the memory files that's on the import model. Um,
yeah, I thought they
uh,
were ADF files. That once
uh,
it saves it, right?
yeah,
To an yeah,
yeah, that could, okay. So we'll call them whatever ADF files, right? So those
whatever.
ADF files, we don't even know the name of the files, right? Like, who cares if it's ADF files or Delta files? It doesn't matter if the functionality is the same. Like, okay, so we just everything's going into data lake files or delta files that's out in one lake, right? So there will be that day where that comes, and then all of a sudden that performance in a composite model will be just as good as it will be inside of inside of that import model, right?
Oh, okay. I kind of see where you're going. Is
Which
yep.
means in this situation, everything can be, shortcuts from all of our models, from all of our tables, and everything on the back end is a shortcut. No longer does anything even potentially have to be something that's owned by the model itself. It can all be shortcutted in, and then people can start to use these pieces however they see fit, right? But but
Mhm.
the metrics layer, and here's the cool thing, is it still allows us to bring along the joins, and you can't quite see them in this image here, but I apologize. The joins and the relationships are still there. The measures still come along with it. The security is still there. We can manage, we have like the universal like
Hmm.
refresh, like you refresh in the Delta Lake, and it's whatever team owns. If HR owns this little green space, when HR updates it, it's updated everywhere, right? So
Yeah.
if sales comes along and switch to live stream, it's live stream.
Yeah. Okay. So I see where you're headed now, because if we talk like security,
Hmm.
and the security layer moves out of the semantic model back to the delta table, right?
Yep.
Now it's not repeated anywhere else, and so that's how that's one example of what you're kind of talking about. And then these metric layers, um, that was shown with Carly, kind of helps stitch us all back together with these what you're calling shortcuts here. Is
Right.
that
Right.
kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. That is exactly it. Right. And that's where and Bob was asking about it. He said, like, hey, what about performant or poorly performant will this be? I think the direct link, when that gets to where we want it to be, that's going to resolve some of the performance. But what we're also going to be concerned with is who has to own and where does the compute come from.
Hmm.
If we are talking perspectives on a individual model, that means we are talking about uh, a centralized compute where that compute comes from the individual model that's out there. That means whoever owns that model has to bring all of the compute to service up and any of the offerings or all of the people that are out there, right? That may not be the case, and that may not be what we want to have, right?
Hmm.
We want to have people that can bring their own compute with them, right? So if I want to come in and I want just a sip of what's available, I pay for a sip, right? I'm in control of what I spend on my consumption layer, not forcing someone else to pay for it, right? Like
Yeah.
here you're very dependent upon like the buffet style. Like, okay, hey, one price and I get as much as I want to eat. That's not reality in the cloud, right? Like you pay for what you consume.
Hmm.
So this
Okay.
is right. This makes sense, Kevin?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I was thinking back to Bob's question, right, again about the performance. And if we kind of say where you're headed, the difference on the performance, if we think about the composite models today, right?
Hmm.
You know, everything's got to go against each one of those their own composite models, right? But
Yeah.
on the way that you kind of put the diagram together is, even though it's stitched together from different things, in the end they're all going back to the same delta files, which
Right.
those same delta files may be cached in the memory or whatever. Kind of, instead of if you're using your common dimension of customers across those things, right? And you're having, it's one file, it's one delta table that it's coming in from. But even though it's three metrics layer objects, right, all hitting customer, now that customer table is still only being brought into memory that one time, I guess, is kind of maybe theoretical of
But
what
we're
could
not
happen.
bringing anything into memory anymore. It's all in Delta.
Well, they still load it into memory once to
Oh,
cache it and everything like
to
that.
visualize it.
Yeah, to visualize it, right? And what
Yep.
I'm saying is you're now putting, metrics from, three different metrics objects into, say, a report or whatever, but they all hit customer, you're not having three different models. Let's say each model is cold, right? Three
Right.
different models loading customer up because you're getting to that one copy of that delta table that you're using across it. Could be again, we're in conspiracy theory, right? We don't know how they're architecting it, but that could be a reason why it could be faster than the current composite models today, right?
Right.
It's going to open up these other technology options for them to make it faster.
Yes, and Bob is right. Given this model, which is helpful, will semantic link integration be a benefit here? Actually, that's an interesting question. I'm
um, I would say possibly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, again, the whole thing is all these things are going to kind of keep coming together, but doesn't and I haven't messed with the semantic link as much as I'd like to, but I think it also gives you the ability to modify the model, doesn't it?
Um. Oh, that's a good question.
I
Yes.
mean, or I could see them expanding it to give you the capability to modify the model. So then, does that get into the automation of how you put these different models together, right? That your master to mini, it gives you a different path to get there.
Well, okay. So yeah, actually, that's a divergence here, but yes, that's important. We could be using the semantic layer and semantic link to
Mm-hmm.
generate and maintain our metrics layer uh, components that we're then distributing so that we could then dynamically update that based upon inputs that come in. That's a good call
Yeah,
out.
maybe.
Again, another tinfoil hat thing, right? Like, I don't know. Uh, that's something we could have there. I think also we one of the things Carly pointed out though is that semantic link would be able to hit these models. So
Hmm.
if you wanted to share your model to like some data scientists, but you were concerned about what they were or were not going to pull out of it, you could potentially look at sharing the link to the semantic or to this
The
metrics
metrics.
layer, yeah, versus sharing a link to the underlying model itself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, we have to explore that side of it. I wonder if that, like, like you mentioned, perspectives don't add security. I wonder if this will add security.
Hmm. I still think security itself, right, will be thought about from the one lake layer, right? I mean, they've already talked about that. That's where they kind of want to consolidate the data level security,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now, again, the idea that you have perspectives or you have something so you see less objects,
Mm-hmm.
right? You still want to have the idea that you got customer, but Chris is allowed to see all the customers and Kevin's allowed to see 10 of the 20 customers, right? That's
Yep.
going to be your data level, your row level security, pushing that back to the storage engine, right? The one lake part of it. Um, that way it's consistent everywhere. So
Right.
I don't see it being true data level security, but it could be, well, I'm only going to share things that show customer, and I don't know, I have some super secret table, and it's just because they never see it, they don't know it's there, right? And then you
Right.
probably want to say you don't have access to that table, but they never even know it exists either. So
Yeah. Security through obscurity at that point, right?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, all right. So,
interesting.
yeah, I guess those are the conspiracy theories and wacko ideas that I had that came from it. Um, uh,
Okay, come on, chat. Tell us where this comes from. Who knows where this meme comes from? We'll see if anybody gets the replies here soon.
I mean, this is a pretty famous meme. So,
Yeah, I
but the
know, but
question is,
they may not know the originating source, right?
That's true, and it's not me. So
No. It's a I'll give you a hint. It's a scene out of a TV show.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
Donald, I expected that you should know, but
yeah,
we'll
yeah. A little
we'll
surprise there, Donald.
yeah, we'll give you a few minutes. Let's move on, and then we'll announce where that comes from a little bit later.
All right, good deal. Um, um, so those are the like items I was really gonna hit in on. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Shabnam for the win.
Yep, it's always sunny in Philadelphia. That is right. Yeah. Have you watched that show?
Yeah, because I don't tend to watch a whole lot of TV until my wife or kids watch it, and my son started watching it, and so I was laughing at it a whole bunch.
It is not appropriate in many
No.
situations. Just be aware of. Be aware of
Yes.
that one. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
But it is funny. So
yeah. Um, but back
all
to the
right.
whole like.
So in conclusion, when is this all going to be GA'd?
So like they wouldn't even say when the preview was going. So like if you're interested in like the private preview, like you could still get in on the private preview right now. You have to email Carly Newsom at cnews@microsoft.com.
No,
But
I meant the whole approach with mini models and everything that you just told.
oh,
Everything that you told us.
everything? I don't know.
Everything.
I mean, that's all conspiracy.
Is this your 10 years
This is
away?
their New World 2030 program. The World Economic Forum is out there pushing this stuff, and we got. I don't know. I can't do Alex Jones for very long. He's got a rough voice. You gotta try to imitate there. So, yeah, no, so I don't know when all this stuff is coming. I will say, uh, if you are working in a larger place or you have complex things that you're trying to manage in your models and you want people to replicate, Master Mini is still a very viable solution that you should be considering. Honestly, because what we're talking about here it's got to be like a 5 to 10 year timeline for like implementation.
Yeah.
So like you
For the
could.
whole kit and caboodle, right? But if we think of what Carly showed in that Wednesday live stream,
Mhm.
and you start getting different metrics, put them into metric sets, could it be a reboot of dashboards? That dashboards 2.0 just strictly consist of the metrics that you have and that whole metric layer?
I mean that's entirely possible. That is an excellent point.
Would that and that when I kind of think of that, I think that could be a better dashboard experience than what we have today,
Yeah.
right? Um, at minimum, right, I would expect that we're going to be able to pull them all into one page on a report, but I could see that that would be, again, Donald mentioned Legos, right? So we have these different Legos. I could just put them all up on a dashboard, and have a much better dashboard thing.
Oh yes. Is this moves instead of it into like the dashboard that we have, you can put
Hmm.
it into a report that is more heavily formatable and customizable and enrichable and has a good UI experience where the old dashboards don't.
Hmm.
So, oh, that makes a ton of sense. And then you turn on linking to other reports and so you have the
Mm,
metric like you have a whole bunch of metrics, right, lined up.
mhm.
And then if you want details, you drill into a report and you just link it and pass it through. That would make a ton of sense, and then
Yeah.
it would allow you to actually. I like that because that would mean instead of a new dashboard, we'd actually be able to say this report can do all of the functionality of dashboards. So we don't need to have dashboards anymore. We could just have reports we can
Hmm.
eliminate that object from our solution. So
Boy,
I'm
it's
very
always hard.
pro.
It's always hard to totally eliminate something because it might be out there, but that would be nice because there's so much confusion between reports and dashboards and the
Right,
words being used generically. But
right. So if we could simplify our solution and get to a better place, that
hmm
does sound that does sound much better. What the hell happened?
I don't know. Was your foil heating up?
Well, no, I
Keeping it?
just like a
I mean, you.
commercial popped up in the middle of my live stream on YouTube. Uh,
Oh,
YouTube.
I don't think I saw it. So,
Oh, well, that's interesting. I'll
do
have to go and see if there's some setting I've YouTube has implemented. Our overlords like to get their money, so
uh,
you know how that goes. So
yeah.
uh,
Chewy said that it did.
yeah. Oh, it
Interesting.
did. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That very. Okay. Well, I guess I guess
you
that's the
you
ad.
you're gonna get $1.26 this time.
Yeah. I got. So if you were here last week, we had some like issues and like apparently instead of it going to the like my stream going into one I'd laid out and like set up, it went to like a new one. Well, the new one wasn't monetized, where the other one I set up was. I got a notification from YouTube that like make sure to monetize your live streams. You missed out on $1.26 in revenue. I'm like, oh no, $1.26 in revenue.
Yeah,
That's
pennies add up still. So
yeah. Oh, Kevin, or I'm sorry, Donald, your $15 to avoid ads is well worth it. Okay.
yeah, and I'm wondering if that's why I didn't. I don't have the YouTube whole thing, but I could see the changes. Um, but yeah, I pay for the premium as well to get rid of all of the commercials.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. All right. Maybe I should be funneling that, $1.26 towards getting rid of commercials from
That's what they were hoping is you could like give it right back to them, you know. So
yeah. Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome.
all right, well, any closing thoughts on it then? It's I think we've
Yeah,
been closing it for a bit here, so it's next month, full release of Chris Kratos BI semantic solution.
yes, yes. We'll roll that out next month. That's not a problem. Look for it in Git and other repositories like TFS. In fact, we're probably just going straight back to TFS for all of our deployments because Git's too new. We're going retro. We're going retro in our code management to
Oh,
TFS.
I
We'll
hated some
deploy
of
it right
those
there.
source control systems. They were so hard to work with.
Oh, I
But
hate all.
that's all
Yeah.
that's a different rant.
Yes. 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 Um. But some apologies. My Wednesday live streams, I like totally forgot to book. I'm in the process of lining those back up again, so I'm on kind of on a little bit of a hiatus, or just keep an eye out for those as we start to like book those up again. We'll be bringing that together. So, um, but do stay tuned. We'll be back next week. We'll be talking about I don't know,
something
probably
something
data
we
mesh. We should talk data mesh. Have we
Yeah,
talked about
yeah,
data
you
mesh
were
before?
no, we haven't, and I know you gave a presentation on it the other day, and so there you go. We got a topic.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah.
be
There we
another
go.
one of you because I'll be learning from you on that one. So
Not a problem. And Bob, this hat is available on the Kratos BI shop. You just go out there and if you click on the white space, 43 pixels down, 126 pixels over, click right there on that exact pixel. You will be taken to the secret link that will provide you the ability to purchase these.
yeah,
Uh,
because it can't be advertised or the government will come after you.
Right, 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 right. So it has to be a secret thing that you can get. So
But now you know you got the code by watching to the end of this stream.
yes, yes. So you know
You know
exactly
which
where
pixel.
to get that. Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Until you have to move it because the government watched this as
Right,
well.
right. Like that pixel is only available for the next 42 hours. So If you're
Not,
watching this
not
after
even
then,
2 days, 42
yes,
short.
42 hours. That is all that it's good for. All right.
Uh,
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys also very much for joining us. We'll be back next week talking data mesh, I guess. So
that
thanks,
sounds
everybody.
like fun. Thanks.
Peace.
Peace.
Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.